Hi, I'm Rob Harrison, and this is my project, Rural Community. My project is a settlement for 150 people. It begins with an undeveloped site and imagines the necessary parts that integrate to form a self-sufficient community. The context of the settlement is an intentional community. An intentional community is a group of people that agree to share a lifestyle based on a set of core values. These groups have existed throughout history, including many in this country. Contrary to a popular notion of chaotic social experiments, many of these communities are stable and offer the members a shared sense of purpose. This intentional community centers on Christian teaching and tradition. The members believe that a common life fosters mutual care and trust among members. I personally have a background in a religious community, and I am familiar with the structure of such a group. I want to focus more on the infrastructure and planning of the community than the beliefs, since I understand them less. I chose a location in Northern Idaho for my site. I was intrigued by the dramatic landscape where canyons, forests, plains, and rivers meet. Specifically, my site borders the Clearwater River near the town of Orofino. The site was chosen where an availability of resources could provide the necessary building blocks for growth. It is located within the Clearwater Gorge, which cuts a path through the flat surrounding plains. US Route 12 runs along the river, allowing good access by driving. The site is located on the south-facing side of the gorge. The size of the site is based on a rough study of the resources required to sustain a population of 150. One of the biggest challenges of the site was the steep terrain. I conducted a study of the terrain and located the most level areas. These more level areas were used to organize the layout of the settlement. The eastern side of the site is the central area of the settlement. This is where the community members live and carry out their daily lives. There are 10 residential buildings, each for around 15 people. A meeting building is located at the center, where common meals, meetings, and celebrations are held. Additionally, there is a school for the children and a workshop building to operate a small craft business. To the west of the main settlement is the farm. This includes a vegetable garden, an orchard, and a barn for livestock. The main crops of the garden are potatoes and sweet corn, as well as numerous other vegetables. Along with the orchard, the area needed for the garden is based on the community's demand for vegetables and fruit. There is also a sawmill for harvesting timber from the site. Much of this timber is western white pine, a wood suitable for constructing housing on the site. Above the main farm area, there are additional fields that are used to grow hay for the livestock and potatoes to sell as a crop. 2 dams collect runoff from the terrain, which is used for irrigation. In addition to planning the settlement, I focus more closely on the barn and the residential buildings. The barn is located to the south of the garden and houses livestock that produce meat, dairy, and eggs. The layout of the barn is centered around areas that require water and electrical power, such as a room for egg washing, a mechanical room, and a sink and storage room. The chickens provide eggs and are able to roam the orchard, fertilizing the ground with their feces and protecting the trees from harmful insects and caterpillars. Milk goats provide dairy produce for the community. These hardy beasts can forage on the steep terrain south of the barn. Pigs can eat food scraps and provide a supplemental meat source. And horses. Well, I guess you just can't ride the Idaho range on a milk goat. Like the crops, the space needed for the livestock is calculated from the food demand of the community. The barn provides natural light inside and space outside so that the livestock can thrive and produce well. The residential houses array along the topography of the slope. Each house accommodates around 15 people, which includes several families and singles. Since self-sufficiency requires that these houses are energy efficient, a major part of the design process was energy modeling. Energy modeling takes the climate conditions of a house, as well as its massing and construction, and predicts its energy use. One of the best ways to view energy use is in a monthly energy balance chart. The goal of energy modeling is to reduce the energy loads of the building by iterating design options. For example, I tested a tiered and partially underground massing against a single level above ground massing of the same floor area. The tiered massing performed significantly better because of increased south-facing glazing and increased contact with the ground. I also tested the performance of construction options by using the baseline code construction as a benchmark. By adding ICF walls and increased insulation in the roof and windows, I achieved an improved building performance. Community occurs at multiple scales, and this is evident in the layout of the buildings. There is a central common room and kitchen for families to mingle, but each family is also able to have necessary privacy in their own apartment. In general, living rooms are on the lower level and bedrooms upstairs. The many windows provide light, air, and views to both living room and bedroom spaces. Space around each house provides extended living and recreation spaces for families outdoors. Well, that's my project. I chose an undeveloped site and tried to imagine a home for 150 people. The nature of this project leaves almost infinite scope for further research and design. Overall, my goal with this project was to take on complex problems and learn a lot about many things. I have certainly learned a lot and will continue my interest in the questions I encountered through the process.